Hello and welcome to Voice of the Province. I'm your host, Troy Glover. Tonight we have the Honourable Ernie Steeves, Minister of Finance, talking with us, and we're going to be talking about the finances and pre-budget consultations in the province. Now, thanks for joining us tonight, Ernie.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Right. So I'd like to go a bit into your background, if you don't mind, before we go into the budget and all that. Now, you're the Minister of Finance, but can you tell the viewers a bit about how you got interested in politics and how you initially decided to run?
I was in the opposition last election, so I was elected in 2014. At that time, I had been in radio. I was in radio in Moncton. I've been in radio for 32 years, and the vast majority of that in Moncton, about 25 years of that in Moncton. But I also owned a number of businesses there as well. Because I worked morning radio, I would get up early in the morning. I'd be at the station generally by 4:30. We're on the air from 6 till 10, and I'd be out there by 10:30 or so. So I got bored after that, so I started opening up some businesses. And so that's where I was at the time when they approached me, and I was doing some work with charities, a lot of charities that we get involved with in the media. I'm sure you do as well. And when I was approached, I looked at it as a way to get more involved and maybe help out these charities on a larger scale, I guess, more than anything else. And so I was asked to run, and I thought, yeah, you know what, the more I thought about it, the more I thought, I like the idea because I like helping people, and I hope I've been a help. I hope I am a help today. So that's how I got into it. And then we had 4 years in opposition, and then this election, and Blaine asked me, we talked about what I might like to do, and I said, you know what, if I had my druthers, I have a business background, and I'd like to do finance. And a couple weeks later, he came back when he decided on the cabinet, and he said, you want to work about 80 hours a week? And I said, yeah, I want to work about 80 hours a week. And he said, then you got finance. And there you go.
Interesting. Now, the current Premier is the former Minister of Finance, actually,
Yes.
under Premier Allward.
Yeah.
Now, do you think those are some big shoes to fill after him?
They are big shoes to fill, and you have to live up to his expectations, and they're high. He's one of the smartest people I've ever met, and he truly, I think he was a good finance minister, a really good finance minister. He has given me a mandate of two things: don't let the credit rating fall, and balance the budget. And he lets me do my work. I work pretty well independently. I've got an amazing staff, and we're gonna try and do both of those things for him and for everybody.
Now, you said that he kind of lets you do what you want, but is there still a good amount of communication between you and him when it comes to what he expects to do with the finances?
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day,
yeah.
My staff and I come up with budgets, and the capital budget that we had back in December was a big undertaking because we had to do it in about 3 weeks. He wanted it done by middle of December, actually earlier than the middle of December, but and we were only sworn in November the 6th or thereabouts, I think it was, Troy. So we were sworn in, and then had to get to work right away on the capital budget. Brought it back to him with one number, and he said, no, I want it lower than that. So we kept working at it and carving it down, and I took it down from, it was originally going to be about 866 million, and I cut it down to about 600 million. And he was satisfied with that. So, I mean, he has the final say on everything.
Yeah.
As well he should. He's earned that right, absolutely, and he's a great premier, so I don't have a problem with that at all. But he lets me do the work and bring it into him for final approval, so I'm good with that.
So do you also find it's kind of nice to know that someone that was in your shoes is able to be there for you to turn to when you need it?
Yeah, except that he's so busy, it's hard it's hard to find time with him. Today, I've been trying this week to get a few minutes with him, and I finally talked to the chief of staff. I said, half an hour, just give me half an hour. And he said, you got 2 minutes. No, it wasn't 2 minutes. Yeah. He said, you got 10 minutes. It turned out to be less than that because the premier had to go to another event. But I did get some time with him and run by some things as we approach the next level, the next budget.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, the province itself has been struggling with when it's been coming to keeping spending on track for usually various reasons throughout multiple governments. What do you think makes this government different from previous ones?
You know what? I can't speak to how previous governments ran it really, Troy. I can tell you that I am committed to balancing the budget and to doing what's right and looking in the mirror at the end of the day and truly believing that I'm doing what's right for the province. And I shouldn't say that other people don't. I'm sure they had the same idea. But I truly believe that balancing the budget and getting this debt under control, getting our fiscal house in order is what is absolutely best province, whether or not I am ever finance minister again, whether or not I ever win another election again. I am finance minister now, and I'll do it. I'll get that budget balanced. I just think it's so important for our children and grandchildren, and I'll start to preach if you let me. So, so stop me now. But I mean, it's absolutely crucial that we tackle that debt.
All right. Now, with New Brunswick's mix of 4 parties and this being a minority government, do you think sometimes it's hard being the financial minister when you know that there are 3 other parties that you might have to contend with in order to get anything through?
I'm not the type of person that would focus on that. Mm-hmm. I'm more focused on, listen, I've got a job to do. I'm going to do it. I'm going to consult with everybody and collaborate as best I can. I think that everybody's got great, valuable ideas. We've gone through a lot of the pre-budget stakeholder meetings and stuff already, and we still have more meetings to go. But and as part of those meetings, I'll be talking to members of the opposition, and and I'm trying to set up meetings with David Kuhn, with Chris Austin, and currently with Roger Melanson as well, the former president of the Treasury Board. So I don't think in terms of whether or not it's going to pass. I'm just going to do the job I can, and hopefully they'll agree with what we come up with. I'm consulting with them, and I'm trying to take their thoughts into it. I mean, they're all smart people, and they all care about the province, and you'd be foolish not to take them into account as you prepare the budget. Yeah.
So you're going with a very much these people are here as a good resource for reference sort of approach rather than just trying to exclude them at all.
You just said it a whole lot better than I did in a whole lot less time. Yeah, they are a great resource. Yeah. They really are. And I feel blessed to have the people that we have to talk to. We've talked to a lot of great people over the last couple of weeks in the pre-budget consultations, and there's more great people to talk to. And just any feedback we can get, it's always good.
Right. Now, you're set to deliver your first budget this year as Minister of Finance. Now, mm-hmm. Is there more pressure on you with this being your first?
Gosh, I never thought of that. You're putting pressure on me now. No, I don't. I don't know. Maybe there is. I hadn't really thought of that, Troy. I got to tell you, I hadn't thought of that. There's pressure to make the right decisions. There's pressure to decide. We need this, we can defer this or put this off for a year. This we just can't afford. So yeah, there is pressure because you're going through every line of the budget and every little part of every little nuance of the province and trying to find a balancing act and trying to still bring it under budget while finding that balancing act, trying to be fair to everybody and trying to get what we need, which is not always what we want, but what we need is absolutely what I'm striving for.
Now, coming up to this new to the budget consultation. Now, have you received any advice from former finance ministers?
Just the premier. Okay. I've got lots of advice from him, and I mean, former finance minister Roger Melanson. I will be talking to him. I've got to call into his office to get a meeting lined up because I do want to hear from the opposition parties. I want to know what they think. I want to know what advice they have and where they think that we should be spending their money. Overall, the plan is to balance the budget. So as long as they know that we need to balance the budget, where are the efficiencies to be made? How can we improve the hospital system? How can we improve our education system? How can we deliver the services in the best possible way? Our customers are the people of New Brunswick. How can we service our customers in the best possible way?
All right. Now, for viewers that might not have obviously been the finance minister before, could you take us through how long it generally takes from start to finish to craft a provincial budget?
Well, the capital budget took about 3 weeks, and those 3 weeks were long days. I tend to get up early in the morning, just still left over from the old radio days. Yeah. So I'm at my desk generally by 6 o'clock. One of my executive assistants, Lynn, we'll give her a plug here. She's at her desk by 6:40. I have another assistant, Margie. She's at her desk right around that time as well. And then the staff start coming in. The staff is paid to be there from 8:15 to 4:30. But you know what? There are staff arriving there at 7 o'clock in the morning. And when I leave at 6 or 7 o'clock at night, there are still staff at their desks at 7 o'clock at night. They're amazing people. I got to tell you, that's the greatest joy. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. But so the days are long, and some of the days last till 10 o'clock at night. And with the budget that we have coming up, the ordinary budget coming up, well, we started working on that almost immediately after the capital budget was released. So early December, we started working on that. Excuse me. And we've been working on it ever since. Now, next week we have meetings with the departments, and so at least 3 of those nights we're scheduled to be there till 10 o'clock at night. And the staff is there with me. I have amazing staff who are passionate about New Brunswick and want the best for New Brunswickers. It's been truly the greatest, and the greatest surprise. I shouldn't say surprise, because I should have expected better. But the civil service are amazing people, and they work hard. And I got nothing but good to say. And it's been a joy to discover how hard they work.
Now, as a new government, are you guys going somewhat off of throw out previous government work sort of tact, or are you going off of build off of what's there?
Yeah, no, the Premier has said all along, you know what, if it's a good idea, it's a good idea, and it stays. Like the 10-year education plan. Yeah. Minister Carty is the education minister. He's a big believer in that. And yes, that will absolutely stay. I'm looking at legislation now that was drafted by the Liberals. I don't see any problem with some of the legislation that we're going to bring in the spring. I don't know if I'm at liberty to say what legislation it is right now, but I got to tell you, this piece of legislation was done by the last government, and I think it's good. And I don't see any need to change it. Just bring it in and get it done. So you know what? If it's a good idea, we're going to use it. If it's something that needs to be changed, we're going to review it and find out the best way to change it and get the best value for the money. As simple as that.
So you could say that the new government's basic, not headline, sorry, but saying could be, if it's a good idea, don't toss it out.
Yeah. No, if it's a good idea, it'll stay. Absolutely. If it needs to be corrected, then that's job number one. Get it corrected and get best value for the money while we're doing that.
All right. Now, if you can comment on this. Now, projected revenue from legalized cannabis played a part in last year's budget. With supply issues pushing down expected revenue for the province, how does something like that possibly affect the budget?
And the supply issue is the real problem there, especially with, I'm trying to remember, it was 1 gram packages, the pre-rolled, and the CBD oil. When we have those all properly in stock, it runs well, and there's money to be made.
Yeah.
It's just getting those in stock, and that's a problem with Health Canada. I do have a meeting with the health minister, the federal health minister, Jeanette Pittipot-Taylor, and that is coming up here shortly, and so we're going to discuss that. There does seem to be a little hint that it's getting better, and that's good news for us, because that's the big detriment here. Edibles will come in the fall. I'm thinking about October, as early as October.
All right.
And that is going to be the next big phase in of that, but there is some legislation that has to be handled before that.
All right.
Yeah, but that's, you know what, I told people last week, $8.6 million was done in the first quarter. $8.6 million of business. That's $8.6 million of illegal weed that's not being sold. And when you look at it that way, I think that's it's not a bad thing. It's not my thing, but you know what? Whoever's into that, I think this is the safe way to go.
All right. Now, how do outside factors such as equalization payments and carbon tax affect how you look at projections, if at all?
Oh, absolutely. The carbon tax is going to be a big hit. So that happens April 1st. It's 4.4 cents per liter the first day, right? That it's going to hit gas, diesel, and then when you're talking about natural gas and propane, they're affected as well. I'm not sure that it's 4.4 cents per liter, but you know what? That is a huge hit to just everybody, every New Brunswicker. The average family of 4, we believe it's going to cost about $1,200 more per year. Now, the plan that the federal government has in place, it will give you a kickback of about $256 for a family of 4. I think it's $128 for a single person. But that doesn't cover the whole $1,200, and that's going to be really hard. So we are involved in that court case, and so I don't know where we're at with that, though, so I can't comment on the court case. But
all right.
Yeah.
Now, your government has already made a few tough decisions when it comes to keeping our finances in check. Now, do you think most New Brunswickers understand that governments have to make these kinds of tough decisions now and then?
I've been really pleased with the response we've had to the capital budget. The capital budget was a big hit. I mean, it went from 866 million to 600 million, and I had more and more people, and I still get people every day. There was a gentleman I met at the Chinese New Year celebration on Saturday in Moncton that I was at the Wesleyan Church. By the way, can I give them a plug? The Greater Moncton Chinese community, they had a wonderful New Year's celebration Saturday night. If you go to anything in the year, go to that.
All right.
Or you know what? Go. And then the next night, I was at the Vietnamese community for the Tet Festival, their New Year's celebration, and it was just wonderful. Anyway, I had this gentleman come up out of the blue, and they introduced me on the stage because I had come up to bring greetings from the Premier in the province, and he came up afterwards and he said, "You don't know me. All I want to say is thank you for doing what you did in the capital budget. Please continue with the." I want to call it operating budget. That's what we would call it in business, but in government they call it the ordinary budget. So, and that happens regularly. There are some people who are disappointed with some things because they have their own niche. They have their own needs and their own pet projects that may not be getting the funding that they want, or maybe they were deferred for a year or two. But you know what? We got to handle it right now. We've got to handle where we are, and we got to protect the future of our children, our grandchildren, and great grandchildren. The Premier referred to it. I think it was in the speech from the throne as intergenerational theft, and I think that's appropriate. I think that's an appropriate term. We're trying to protect the future of our children, grandchildren, so that they can have the life that we have, the lifestyle that we have. We can't afford to get any further in debt because it is going to affect our health and education budgets and all the rest of that. And right now, we're trying to protect those as best we can.
So kind of like stop thinking short term, always continue to think long term.
Yeah. Like most parents, are you a parent?
No.
Well, soon, I'm sure. But it's like most parents, you would do anything for your child. What we're asking you to do right now is hold off on a couple things for a couple of years, but it's for your child, it's for your grandchildren, and it really is that important. I truly believe it is that important, it's that crucial that we get our handle on our finances and don't raise that debt anymore.
All right. Now, we're going to be cutting to a short break here.
Sure.
So we're going to be cutting to a break here now, and stick with us as we continue to talk to Ernie Steeves, the Minister of Finance, about finances and the pre-budget consultation. Hello and welcome back to the Voice of the Province. I'm your host, Troy Glover. Tonight we have Honorable Ernie Steeves, the Minister of Finance, talking with us about finances and the pre-budget consultation. We're going to go right to the lines. Sure. We had someone waiting before break, and it's Tyler from Fredericton. Hello, Tyler.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
What can I do for you, Tyler?
I've been fighting to get off the system, the government system, from social development.
Yeah.
I've been trapped on that system for so many years.
Okay.
And I've been trying to look for a job through the government system.
Okay. And what are you good at?
I'm good at anything, like flipping houses, anything.
Right on.
Something with benefits.
You know what? We need people working in New Brunswick, man. We need people working hard, and there's a lot of jobs out there.
Too.
What's your training in?
Landscaping, and I like to work with kids.
Oh, right on. Can we offline? We'll get his phone number, and you know what? I'll get your phone number, Tyler. I'll give you a call, and we'll find out if we can't connect you with somebody. Is that cool? I don't know if he's still there or not. Okay, they're going to get his number offline or something like that.
All right. I'd like to thank Tyler for calling in.
Can't promise, but you know what? there's a desperate need for people who want to work in this province. And if you want to work, boy, there are jobs out there. And it's not all, I mean, we desperately need nurses. We desperately need IT people. We're going to be needing more doctors in the province, too. I know your sister's studying med school.
Yeah.
Get her to come back to New Brunswick, dude. Come on. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. And we need people working there. We need people working in other jobs as well. Irving, the other day, I met with the Irving people as part of the stakeholder. They were at one of our stakeholder sessions. And I think they said 3,200 jobs, 3,200 people they'll need to hire in the next 3 years. People that drive excavators, people that drive trucks. It isn't all doctors and lawyers and nurses and all the rest of that. We need people working in all vocations.
All right. Okay, so we're going to go now from the backgrounding to the pre-budget consultation. Now, your government is looking to balance the 2019 to 2020 budget. Now, why is it important that we have to balance the budget for the province?
Well, we can't keep adding to the debt. Right now, we're paying about $660 million to service the debt. So that's basically interest payments on the debt, right? $660 million that could be going to schools. I mean, that's basically 20 new schools every year. Or teachers, that's a zillion teachers, I don't know how many. But I mean, this is money that can be used for something else. But what it's going to is to pay our debt. And that money doesn't stay in New Brunswick. It goes to Wall Street, Bay Street. It doesn't stay on King Street in Fredericton or Main Street in Moncton or, in St. John or wherever in the province. We've got to keep that money here in the province. And so that's why it's key to balance the budget. Not only balance it, but to pay down the debt. And that will reduce those service payments and give us more disposable income to fund the programs that we need to fund, so that Tyler and other people can go back to school, get further training, whatever they need.
Now, you're focusing on 5 key areas within the budget. Can you explain or talk about some of them?
Oh my goodness, now you put me on the spot to remember them all. Health, education, social programs. I mean, we're focusing on the things that New Brunswickers need. You know what? If it's not on the list, then tell us what you need, and we'll see if we can focus on that some too. But we desperately need to keep our health system going. I am a cancer survivor. I had cancer about 10 years ago, and I got to tell you, I had fabulous care, and continue to have fabulous care in this province. And I know that there are wait times. And we're trying to come up with solutions to get the wait times down. Ultimately, that's Minister Fleming's area of expertise, but I trust him that he knows what he's doing. He's a smart guy, that's for sure. He's smart and then some, actually. I'll give him a little bit more plug than that.
All right.
Okay? But in education, you get Dominic Carty, who also is one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. He's brilliant. Now that sounds like Ted wasn't brilliant. I'll give Ted more props again. Okay. No. Minister Carty is great. You know what? He believes in the 10-year education plan. He believes in the child care plan that the last government, along with the federal government, came together, and we'll tweak that and make that even better, and that is going to happen. He's announced that, and I agree with that. He is, we have Minister Shepherd, Dorothy Shepherd, who's in social development and knows the files and knows the people and understands the people that social development is helping. A caring, intelligent individual who can handle those files with the care of a mother over their child almost. Really, really great person. We have Bill Oliver doing DTI. He knows roads. He knows what has to be done. And he cares about the province. They all do. All of our cabinet does. All of the people, and not just on our side, all the MLAs do. I tell that to people when I'm at home sometime. I say, you know what? You got 49 people up there, and they really are trying. I don't see any of them not trying. They're trying hard on all sides. Us, Green, People's Alliance, Liberals, they're all trying as hard as they can to do the right thing. Nobody's slacking off. They really are trying right across the board, and I will give them all credit for that.
Now, part of the budget planning, you're actually asking New Brunswickers what they'd like to see or their input on it. Now, why is it important to get the people of New Brunswick to talk to the government about what should be in the budget to be taken in account?
Well, they're our customers.
Yeah.
We're trying to serve the customers as best we can. I mean, ultimately, when it comes down to the numbers and how much we have to spend, then myself and my department will we'll work on those numbers. But yeah, we have to know from people. It's just like any business, any good business. You want to know what your customers want. You want to service them as best you can, and the best quality service at the best price. And it's just like business that way. I can't say that all of this area of government is like business, but customer service should be number one in all businesses, and it should be number one in government as well.
All right. Now, if someone has an idea or feedback, how could they contribute?
Oh, send me an email. It's ernie.steeves@gnb.ca. Ernie is spelled ERNIE .steeves, S-T-E-E, V as in Victor, E-S, at gnb.ca. Send me an email, give us a call. Right now, actually, we've got a survey online. It started last Friday, was February the 1st, wasn't it? Last Friday it started, so you can go onto the GMB website, and the survey is there. There's just 9 questions that you have to answer, or we're asking you to answer, but there's also pages that you can write out your suggestions. We're trying to hear from as many New Brunswickers as we can. We've got stakeholder meetings with about 140 different stakeholders that we've been doing over the last while, and we'll continue to meet with whoever needs to, whoever needs to be met with, and find out more of what we can do to balance the budget and to do it while helping New Brunswickers, not harming them.
All right. Now we're going to go to the lines here for a second.
Sure.
On the line we have Mike from Moncton. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Mr. Steeves. I just wanted to ask you if I had a telephone conversation with Mr. Carty in December 2017 when he was still the NDP leader, and he informed me that there were over 600 people collecting pension checks from the New Brunswick taxpayers that don't qualify. Now, we know of Rodney Weston and Dana Glendenning, and I'd be interested in knowing who the other 598 are. Now, Mr. Curdy said that he would look into that for me, and of course he never did call me back because he ended up joining your party and blah, blah, blah. But, I'd be interested in at least knowing some numbers on that, because if there's 600 people collecting pension checks that don't qualify, I mean, that's going to be a couple of millions of dollars, wouldn't you say? And, if I was collecting welfare from the province and I didn't qualify, you better believe the government of New Brunswick would be coming after me for that money.
Yeah,
and I don't understand why we're not going after those people for that pension money, that 600 people. I mean, how does it even get to 600?
Yeah.
Like, how does that number get so high?
Yeah, I've never heard this at all, Mike, so I will check into it for you, and I'll check into it first thing in the morning. You're right. If there are people collecting any kind of checks that they don't qualify for, then yeah, we got to find out who they are. So,
am I still on the air?
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
I just wanted to say that during the election, I had a Facebook conversation with Susan Holt, the Liberal candidate for the Fredericton riding that the Green Party leader won. And in that, I challenged her to speak to Dominic Carty about that very issue, and she did that. And she did say that she had spoke to Mr. Carty about the approximate 600 people collecting pension checks that didn't qualify. And, of course, she never ran with it. And I also spoke to Denis Landry. I saw him in a restaurant in Bathurst one time during the election, and I spoke to him about it, and he didn't know anything about it either. Yeah. So I find it interesting that, there's such a high number of people that are collecting pension checks that don't qualify. And I know that corruption, collusion, and parasitism is protected by law. I understand that part. But we should at least know what the number is. If we can't know who these people are and who gave them the pension checks, then at least come out to the public and say, this is how much money, tax dollars money, is going to waste on this issue, and we can't do nothing about it. But I'd like to see at least a number.
Okay, I'll check into it tomorrow morning there, Mike. That's interesting, because I've never heard of it either. So I'll check with Minister Carty. I'll check with Finance, find out if there's, what the story is behind it. Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for the call.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike, for calling in. Now, we were talking about people that could submit their feedback or anything. Now, what would you say the deadline right now is for people to submit any feedback?
Oh, it goes to the end of the month.
End of the month?
It goes to the end of February.
All right.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear suggestions. We'd love to hear your feedback. I'd like to know what's important to you, what's the most important thing to you, and we'll go from there. And it deals with different areas of government, so there should be a spot for you on most anything.
Now, has any other previous governments done something like this before when constructing the budget?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I know that no, I don't know that they did do an internet one, because this year they talked about doing this, the road show that they oftentimes do. But
Yeah.
I found out that the bill last year on the road show, or what they believe the bill would be this year on the road show, was $110,000, and they talked to 100 people. And I said, we have this wonderful thing called the internet. Here you go, folks. We're going to do it. And I just cannot justify spending $110,000 to take this show around the province when the internet's there. Phone me, write me a letter, send me an email, whatever. Send me a fax. I don't know if I know we've got the information here. Maybe we can get it up on the screen sometime. Anyway, yeah, I'd love to hear from you. I mean, we've heard from Tyler, we've heard from Mike. I want to hear from thousands more. And let me know, what do you think? What can we do better? Mm-hmm. How can we save money? Because we do have to save money. How can we do it? Give us your ideas. We don't have all the ideas, that's for sure. We don't have a monopoly on those.
Now, in the past, governments have usually raised taxes to help with the offset costs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in your opinion, would you say this has worked?
I'm not a big fan of tax and spend governments. No, and our premier has committed to no new taxes. So it's just as simple as that: no new taxes, and you're not going to get any this time. You don't encourage economic growth by taxing people. I don't think, or taxing businesses either at a high rate. You've got to keep it competitive so that they want to set up business here. We've got a glorious province. And I don't know why people don't set up more businesses here. I mean, when you look at, I lived in Southern Ontario back in the 80s. Mm. I used to drive from Hamilton to Toronto. I had meetings on Front Street on Friday afternoons of all times. So when I go out the QEW, it would take me 45 minutes to get there, and the meetings would end at 4:30, and I'd be coming home in rush hour, and it would take me about 2.5 hours. And I think to myself, people in Toronto are commuting an hour and a quarter every day to get to work there, and an hour and a quarter to come home. You know what? It's 10 minutes here to get wherever you want to go generally, and 10 minutes home. There's another couple hours a day that you have to spend time and go watch the kids play soccer, or go, I don't know, kayaking or tobogganing or whatever. Do family time. Time to read, time to cook, time to do whatever you want to do, work out. I mean, it's time that you're not in a car driving. Yeah. And I would love to see people take advantage of New Brunswick and the wonderful province that it is, and the great opportunities you have for recreational and other things, raising a family here. I'd love to see companies set up down here. And taxing them to death is a hard way to encourage that. So, and we are taxed to death, personally as well as corporately. Mm. Yeah.
Now, there's a challenge not to overspend usually as a government. How difficult would you say this is to do, not to overspend?
Oh, it's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, as you look at everything, and I have other MLAs come to me and say, listen, I really need this. And you know what? Sometimes you can do it, sometimes you can't. If there's a return on investment that's positive, if there's a positive ROI, then it makes it a whole lot easier, right? But we want New Brunswickers ultimately to have the best lifestyle they can, but we don't want them to be crushed by debt. And we are setting our kids up to be crushing debt. Truly, that is the word, crushing debt. Mm-hmm. You know, there are hard decisions to be made, but we make them together, and we're trying to keep everybody in mind as we do that.
Now, you want to energize the private sector.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what has to happen to require a kickstart to that?
Boy, you know what? We have to encourage businesses to come down here, like the reasons I just said.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful place to work. It's a wonderful place to live. It's a wonderful place to grow up. I grew up here. You're an Army brat. Did you spend most of your time here? Or
my whole life here.
Is that right?
Yep.
Boy, that's rare, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. It was very rare.
Wow.
Father was posted in Moncton, then posted Bathurst, then back door Moncton.
Really?
Yep.
That's awesome. You're lucky. You know what? Canada's beautiful, but New Brunswick's the most beautiful part of Canada. I think that energizing the economy, energizing the private sector it could be just that simple. Probably not, but it could be just that simple. Showing people the value of being down here with our bilingual community, with our bilingual workforce, which I don't think is being sold near as well as it should be. You know what? There are many reasons to come down here. Anybody that comes down here and spends a week in the summer or even in the winter, go skidooing, go skiing, go cross-country skiing, go snowshoeing, go and watch your kids play hockey. You know what? It's a great place to be. I just love it.
Right. Let's see. Actually, we're going to have to cut to a short break here again.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
So stick with us as we continue to talk about the pre-budget consultation with Honorable Ernie Steeves. Hello, welcome back to Voice of the Province. I'm your host, Troy Glover. Tonight we're talking to Honorable Ernie Steeves, Minister of Finance, about the pre-budget consultation. Now, is there anything you wanted to share with us before we started?
They just told me to share.
Yeah.
I'm going to be on Facebook Live
Yep.
On February 25th, 2:15 to 3 o'clock. So go on the GMB Facebook page. We'll do Facebook Live. So it's like this, but, on Facebook, whatever.
All right.
All right, dude. Thanks, man.
No problem. Now, going back into the questions, now our population is aging.
Yeah.
How does that affect our ability to grow our private sector?
Well, private sector is going to grow in areas that, in businesses that can serve older populations, I guess. I mean, that's an area to develop if you're a business owner. You want to develop that. You want to service that population, and goodness knows there's going to be more and more business for it all the time. So, yeah, get on it.
Now, are there now fewer people working in the province than there were a decade ago, you'd say?
You know what? I don't have those numbers offhand, Troy, but I can find out for you. You know what? Probably, yes, because it seemed to me, okay, what was I reading? There were 3 taxpayers for every 5 people retired or something about a decade ago.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to phone up and correct me on this. Now it's down to 2, and I think in about 10 to 15 years, it's going to be basically 1 taxpayer that's working for like 5 retirees. So, you know what, if you know the exact stat on that one, I may not be exactly right on that one, you can phone up and let me, and you're welcome to correct me. I'd
All
love
right.
to hear that.
Now, how important is it for our province to improve or grow our growth compared to other provinces, you'd say?
You know what, I want everybody in Canada to be successful, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But my main concern is with New Brunswick. Right now, we're running at a GDP growth of about 1%, and that's what the forecast, with the demographics that we have in New Brunswick, the forecast is it's going to be right around 1%. Are we going to do better than that? Sure hope so. And the plan is to. But right now, the forecast looks like about 1% GDP growth each year. So, and that's generally, there's going to be a fairly slow growth across Canada, as I understand it. Yeah.
Now, despite offsets by tax increases, the province has been running a deficit for most of the previous years. Now, how important is it for us to tackle this yearly deficit?
Number one job. Number one thing to do. Tackle the deficit, balance the budget, then start paying down the debt. And it isn't just balancing the budget, it's paying down that debt too, right? So that we don't have all those interest payments going outside of the province. That's our 4th biggest line item, is servicing the debt. And that is just absolutely insane. I mean, you know what? It's what we're stuck with. And successive governments, PC and Liberal alike, have failed to tackle it. And as I said earlier, I may not be finance minister forever, but I'm finance minister now, and I will tackle it. And I do think that it is absolutely the number one thing that we've got to tackle right now.
Now, in the State of the Province address, Premier Higgs announced that your government has managed to eliminate the 2018 to 2019 deficit. How was that accomplished?
We put in some really strict measures on spending over the 4th quarter, 3rd quarter too. As a matter of fact, as soon as we came in, we put in some strict measures on spending. There has been an increase in revenue, though. Right. I wish I could take credit for it all, or wish we could take credit for it all. But no, there has been an increase in revenue, and that's from personal income tax, corporate income tax, and that's handled by the feds. they do a lot of our bookkeeping for us, for lack of a better term, in that way, and hand us the money from our corporate and personal income tax. And then there has been an increase in revenue there, so that's good. We need that. Yeah.
Now, the previous government had gone into the election with a budget surplus. Was their budget sustainable for another year, or were changes needed to be made to not incur another deficit?
No, if we hadn't done the changes, I don't think it would have balanced this year.
Yeah.
I'm really trying hard to balance it. The Premier promised it, so I've got to do it. But it's still going to be tight.
Yeah.
It is going to be tight. I will say this about the last government. They never met a dollar that they didn't want to spend. As a matter of fact, they didn't want to just spend it once. They wanted to spend it 2 or 3 times. So, but having said that, for them to balance the books, it would have been hard. They did have a surplus last year, and that was due to the unexpected revenue that we talked about, the personal income tax and corporate income tax. That was unexpected at that time. We've learned to predict it a little more accurately now. So that was a nice treat last year when that happened, but I don't know that they were on the road to doing that this year. After Q2, it was the deficit was running at about 131 million. So we've managed to bring it down, and the Premier says get it to 0. And so we're going to try and do that by the end of March.
Now, he also said that the upcoming budget will be balanced as well. Like, obviously, you can't tell us what's in it yet,
No.
obviously, but how important is it for your department to focus on balancing it?
It's what he's told us. Don't let the credit rating drop, balance the budget. It's as simple as that. So, yeah, that's our job. And it is really, really important. It is so important to our future. I just can't stress that enough. To the future of us, my kid, my grandchildren, and everybody who's watching, your children and grandchildren as well.
Now, we're in a minority government situation right now, obviously. Now, was there additional pressure to balance the books earlier than originally promised?
No, that was always a plan from the Premier.
All right.
He was focused in on that, so that didn't really have anything to do with the minority government or anything. That was the plan all along. He is focused on balancing the budget, and he's entrusted me with that. And the other day, he looked at me and said, "Do you got this right?" And I said, "Yeah, Premier, I'll get this done." I hope. He said, "Great, because I got other things that I got to get working on here," and he has been working on those all along too. So,
now, what would a credit downgrade mean for the province if we didn't get our finances in order?
Yeah, credit downgrade is just going to cause more of our payments going towards interest, towards servicing the debt, and it's also a signal to the business community that maybe we're not in as good a shape as we think we are. We've got to signal to the business community that yes, New Brunswick is a place to come and invest. We have taken the steps needed to balance the budget. We've taken the steps needed so that we can not only just balance the budget, but also pay down on that debt. And that is that's a draw to business, and so that is why the credit rating is so important not to have it drop. Yeah.
All right. Now, we're going to go to the lines here for a second.
Sure.
We have Kevin calling in from St. John. Hello, Kevin. Okay. Seems we lost Kevin.
Kevin, call back, buddy. We're here.
Now, we pay nearly $700 million per year servicing our provincial debt. How did we let things get out of control to this extent, you think?
You know what? It's been a long time since we balanced the debt. And as a matter of fact, it was during, or balanced the budget. It was during Bernard Lord's time. That's how long ago it was. The financial crash in 2008 hit us hard. And the government of that day felt that spending a lot would help stimulate the economy, and it didn't really work that well. That was followed by another government that seemed to be trying to please people more than they wanted to please people about balancing the debt. And then a successive different government again, who just spent crazy amounts, I think. $1 billion in new taxes over the last 3 years from that government, and it's just, you just can't have that and expect growth or expect a happy population, really, either.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, it seems we have Kevin back again from St. John. Hello, Kevin.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good.
Yeah. How are you making out tonight?
I'd say fine.
Does
All
he
good,
really
Kevin.
believe that the provincial government is going to have a balanced budget with a federal election coming up in October, and we have a problem here in St. John with the St. John Harbor riding with invalid votes with Jerry Lowe and Barry Ogden. How do you feel about the St. John Harbor riding with this court thing going on? And I would just like to have your comments on that in St. John, New Brunswick, with the harbor riding, with votes that were processed by people that were deceased and stuff. And how do you feel about that? Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Kevin. Thanks for calling, man. You know what? There's obviously some irregularities down there. Elections New Brunswick's looking at it. It may go in front of the courts. I don't know. There are lawyers involved now, certainly, so I can't really comment a whole lot. And I don't really know a whole lot to comment on any more than you guys read in the media. We all read in the media. There were some irregularities. How many there were, I don't know. But it's a sad state right now for that situation.
All right. We're going to go right from that call, actually, to another call. We have Zoel from Dieppe. Hello.
Hello. How are you tonight, Mr. Steve?
Hey, I'm doing good. Zoel, how you doing?
I got a crazy idea here.
Okay. Hit me.
To pay down the debt.
I like that idea. I don't think that's crazy. If people think that's crazy, then I'm crazy along with you, man.
Well, I'm going to give you a wild one.
Okay.
Make a lottery, 50-50, like they're all doing all over the place. And the money that the province gets goes right on the principal on the debt. And you put legislation so even though the NDP or somebody's in the government, they can't change it.
At this point, I'd even do chase the ace if I thought it would lower the debt there. But I appreciate that. So, well, you know what? We're going to work hard at lowering the debt. We're going to look hard at. We got to balance the budget first, and then start paying down that debt. But I appreciate the call. Thanks for calling, man.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Zoel. Now, go back into this. Now, what would be the advantage of reducing the amount we have to pay servicing our debt through balanced budgets and responsible spending?
What would be the advantage of? Well, it's more money for us. Right now, $660 million per year is going to service that debt. Mm-hmm. So it's like it's just like a loan that you would have, a personal loan, and you're saying, okay, I'm not paying the principal even on my house. I'm just paying the interest payments. Well, you can't do that forever. You got to pay down the principal too, right? So paying down the principal in this case will lower those interest rates down, and that's what balancing the budget's all about. So we got about $9.5 billion budget this year. Actually, no, this year's 9.7. Sorry, $9.7 billion budget this year. If we could bring in $10 billion in revenue, then we get $300 million left over to pay down on our debt, which would not lower that 660 at all, very much, but it's a step in the right direction. When you're that many billions of dollars in debt, even 300 million is kind of a small amount, isn't it? So, but that's the end game. Every little bit that you can pay down on it is one step closer towards your kids and your grandkids having the life that we have here in New Brunswick. So that's just that important.
All right. Now, the saying has been you got to spend money to make money has been thrown around New Brunswick a bit. Do you think with New Brunswick in its current financial situation, do you think that saying applies to this province?
I don't think with the debt we have right now that it does. That's a good saying for business. Mm-hmm. Spending money to make money. It's going to be smart money spent, and if the money spent gives you a positive return on investment, then it's always smart money to spend if you've got it. Right now we don't have it. And right now, that's why it's important to pay down this debt, to pay down the deficit, or balance the deficit rather, and the budget, and pay down the debt. Spending money to make money is great if you really, really are going to make the money. And we got to be careful with how we invest our money. We got to be careful with how we invest the residents of New Brunswick, the people of New Brunswick, their money. And ultimately, if there's a positive ROI, then we'll look at that as a positive, and there's a good chance that'll happen. So.
Now, for the public consultation, you're asking for feedback on things like healthcare, education, public services.
Yeah.
Do you think the opinions of New Brunswickers have been neglected by past governments up until now?
That's an interesting question. I don't know. I mean, I've only been in politics for 5 years. When I was in opposition, I felt like my suggestions weren't always given their due. We did get some things. I got through a couple of things, but I mean, I put in a lot of motions, and most of them were turned down. And I thought they were all very valid, very important changes to the situation in New Brunswick. But having said that, all I can worry about is myself and how I do it, and I've been trying as hard as I can to listen to people, to take their comments and their considerations seriously, and use them as a way to figure out a way out of this mess that we're in.
All right. Now, once your budget is delivered, what do you hope New Brunswickers take away from it?
An understanding, I would say, take away from this, an understanding that we're doing what we can to help you. It's not meant to hurt anybody. It's meant to try and give us a better, sustainable future. It's meant to provide a better future for your children, for your grandchildren. Take that away and know that these are not those political decisions. These are not about parties. I want the parties to work with us. I want the stakeholders to work with us, but I want them to work with us knowing that we have a huge problem, and that problem has to be addressed by a balanced budget, by making that deficit go to zero on the budget, and then paying down that debt. Take that away, that we really are trying hard to give a sustainable, wonderful future for yourself as well as your kids and your grandkids.
Now, just to surmise, like really quickly, is there hope that this budget might be the start of a streak of balanced budgets?
I'm sorry about.
Do you? Is it hoped that this budget might be the start of a streak of balanced budgets?
Yes, that's the plan. I have a 5-year plan, and the 5-year plan has it balanced each year and paying down the debt each year.
All right.
A little bit. It's not going to be. We're not going to pay it all down at once, folks. It took us years to get into this mess, and it'll
Sorry,
take us
but it
years
seems
to
like
get
that's
out.
actually all the time we have left
Really?
right now.
I'm just getting warmed up.
So, Ernie, I'd love to thank you for coming in
Thanks
with us
a lot,
tonight.
man. Appreciate it.
This was the Honorable Ernie Steeves, Minister of Finance. Thank you for joining us on Voice of the Province tonight. I'm your host, Troy Glover. Thank you for watching, and I'd like to thank everyone, and also have a great night.